Hello, welcome back to Raised by Rain. My name is Stormie, and today we are going to be planting some herbs that I purchased. It looks like last night was our last freeze, but last night definitely was a freeze. I think we came down to 29 degrees. We're gonna go through, walk the garden, see if there's any sorts of damage. I do have some cooler weather crops in the beds at the moment. I have different varieties of carrots. I've got some leeks, onions, miscellaneous herb flowers, radishes, and garlic. So not a whole lot right now, but we will go ahead and check things out. I do have a bunch of tulips popping up right now, and they are just absolutely stunning. So I will show those to you. These are just absolutely stunning. So pretty. Got quite a few that still have not popped up, and that's okay. Most of these bulbs over here are somewhat brand new, other than the red ones. Those ones came from a different location in our garden, and we just plucked them back here. So this area right here is somewhat newer in our garden. We have had asparagus in we've been here for about 6 years. This is our first year ever of getting asparagus, and it's because we moved all the roots into this raised bed, and that has done wonders. So we did harvest our first asparagus this year, which was super exciting. Absolutely loved it. I've never had fresh asparagus before, and I will say the flavor is just so good. But the rest of this area has just been either a complete weedy mess or somewhere I've just completely neglected. It's kind of tucked into the corner next to our chicken coop and cutting off our backyard to our garden. There is a pine tree that is always producing quite a few pine needles, so there's no grass that grows here, just weeds, which is totally fine. So last fall, my wife went ahead and purchased a bunch of really fancy irises and tulips, and then she combined everything back here. The one thing I really love, and it is so special to me, I am definitely a type A personality. I'm okay with chaos. I'm okay with not things being perfect in rows or anything. So if you take a look at these, you can tell that she planted them because they are, it might not look like it there, but they are in perfect rows, like absolutely perfect rows. And we noticed that some of the tulips that are coming up are not in the correct spot that she put them. So she's a little deterred by that, but I absolutely love it. I think I just look back here, and if she's not here, it just reminds me of her and her perfect rows. I try to do rows for certain things, like carrots I'll always do in a row. Actually, no, for the most part, my carrots are in a row. But then I get to a point where I have extra seeds in my seed packet, and I'll just scatter them in a bed because I like the look of multiple different plants all growing in the same area, but then also a few rows of perfectly defined, okay, cool, those are all onions, or whatever it is. So I will show you the rest. I don't do a whole lot of weeding, so there's going to be quite a bit of weeds. I'm not worried about that. It does not seem to bother me. The only area that I was having a lot of issues with every single year has been my onions. That bed I always neglect at weeding, and my onion bulbs were typically pretty small, but I'll show you what I'm doing with those this year. To the perfect rows, these chives, they're starting to put on little blooms. I planted these because I like the novelty of them, and I like the fact that they put out those really pretty purple blossoms. So that's what these are there. These are my one spot of my carrots that are in the perfect rows. This area is probably, 2 feet by 5 feet or so. And if you see all the perlite rows, what I did this year is I just took my hand or a horny knife and I made indents of where I wanted to scatter the seeds. And then after that, I had some seed starting mix left over. And in that seed starting mix, it has some growing enzymes and things for the roots to grow pretty strong. So I'm like, well, let me see. What's it gonna do? It's not gonna hurt anything. So then I just scattered that over top of it. And I will say these are probably the best germination rate that I've had with carrots ever. Now I did cover them with some cardboard for the first probably 2 weeks and kept them really moist. That seemed to help quite a bit as well, but I've done that prior years also. So this year I'm battling the classic tale of roly-polies. My shadow is gonna cast, but I'll use this little tag. So these are my little kales. My dog would like to go out the garden. She's whining over there. She can wait a little bit. But these are also kales that I have started. Looks like I only have 3, but I had this entire area planted. But I'm struggling with the roly-polies pretty bad, and they're eating all the seedlings, which is not very cool. I'm gonna let my dog out the garden. She's my garden dog. She's super cute. Oh, please. Thank you, darling. One thing that I will say is, just because I'm having, you know, a roly-poly problem or a small pest problem, I'm not going to battle them at all. This is their natural habitat. They like soil, and I'm providing them with some pretty good food. I mean, I think I would probably do the same thing if I was a roly-poly. So not too worried about it. If I see them, not killing them. I'm not gonna scoot them to the side or anything. If they take more plants, or if they take seedlings, that's totally fine, because I can go to the store and purchase them like I did. So I do have some dinosaur kale starts that I purchased in Kansas City. That was it's kind of funny because that was the one thing that I didn't have seeds for this year. I always forget that I need to purchase seeds, like the seeds that I actually need, until it's too late. So then I'll just go out and buy the pre-starts. There's nothing wrong with that. I've definitely had a few garden seasons where I neglected my seed starts really poorly, and they were extremely leggy, or what's the other word? When they're not leggy, when they're stunted. That's what it is. I've done that with tomatoes so many times. Not this year. Not doing it this year. Where in the past I'd have to go and just repurchase all tomato starts. Well, when you're growing, you know, 60 plus tomato starts, like, it can get kind of pricey. So this year I was mindful. I did not neglect my seed starts, and not gonna purchase any. I might purchase some because, you know, that's always really fun. But okay, what else are we gonna? There's a bee on my hand, but you can't see it. It's okay. She was there. She was lovely. She wanted my water. Okay, back to the task at hand. I could talk about tomatoes all day long, and this video would be 80 hours long. But okay, so right here, what I have is, what I have right here is a tray of seedling starts that I purchased at a few different locations down in Kansas City area, KU. So yeah, let's go through those. That I purchased was called Spicy Orange. It's for its time, which is really cool. Let me tell you, it smells like orange. This is definitely a new variety for me. I've never seen that, heard that before, so I got one of those. Maybe I got 2 of them. 2 of these. Yeah, really nice started plant. I think this put me back probably like $4, so $8 total. But yeah, it says that it's family owned and locally grown, which is really awesome. So there are those. I was really looking for, get the wind, it caught my face. Since the wind decided to chill just for a moment, I was looking for varieties that I either did not start from seeds, or, you know, I've been to my local greenhouse and nursery dozens of times. So there are certain varieties where, like, I know, like, hey, I've never seen that before, or they most likely don't have that. So this is another one. This is a Bergarten sage. It's got really large, almost like egg-shaped leaves, which I thought was really interesting. I did purchase just a regular, I think it's a garden sage. Yeah, garden sage. But you can kind of see the difference in the leaves. This one is much larger and round. This one looks like your basic garden sage. And then I also purchased 4 of dinosaur kale. This is my favorite kale. I like how it's very long and it's very tough. You know, it doesn't sound very appealing, but I do like, it's very versatile. I can cook with it, I can eat it raw. I also really love the look of it. I like to grow things that look a little bit different and cool. And then I got, I think 4 different kinds of rosemary. Just kidding, I got 3 different kinds, and then this is French tarragon. I've only used tarragon a handful of times, but this is really good for roasting chicken. And for the rosemary, I got a barbecue rosemary after doing some research. Sorry, my wind chime is ridiculous. The reason why this is called barbecue is because the stems on these get super long, like shish kebab style. So you can use them as shish kebabs for barbecuing. So that's why they don't smell like a barbecue. They don't taste like barbecue. It's just for their uses. And then I also got rosemary. It's called Hill Hardy. I'm gonna assume that it's hardy on a hill, but it's rosemary, so that's what matters to me. And then I also purchased Spice Island, also another culinary variety. I really don't know the difference between any of them. I just know that they have different names, so I'm gonna plant them. And then one more thyme. This one is just French thyme. This is like your typical thyme that you would purchase at the store in those like little blister pack things. It smells nice. And I think I got 2 different plants. Oh, maybe even 3. So yeah, those are my starter plants that I'm gonna be plugging in. I've got a little bed over there that my wife built specifically for herbs. My prior herb bed, I made the mistake, and I know everybody says do not plant mint in a large open area. They're not wrong. You should listen to them. Learn from my mistake. Mint is growing abundant in that bed. And then there's also, I didn't know this, but oregano also kind of spreads like mint does, and it's a oregano mint wildflower bed, which it's lovely. Like when it's fully in bloom, like it really does look really cool. I just don't want to give the whole bed to that, so we're just going to change our routes a little bit. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that bed, but time will tell. We'll see. That's probably a great shot. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to plant this bed. You can join me while we do it. But one thing I wanted to point out is there are 2 garden tools that I swear by. I was not the one to discover these by any means, but I am easily influenced. So I want to easily influence you. There's 2 of them. There's this. Off the top of my head, I could not tell you what this looks like or what this is called. So that's kind of the shape of it. It's about 1 foot long, and it looks like a little scythe, like a Grim Reaper scythe. The one edge it's sharp. Like I wouldn't want to, accidentally nick myself with that. But this is really awesome for raking weeds and just pulling those weeds right out. Especially if you've got some limitations, this really does help with that quite a bit. And then my favorite knife in the entire world is the boring knife. This is also, I'd say probably about 1 foot long. Also, it does have, on here it has the different inches on there, so if you need to specifically plant so deep, this is really helpful for that. Not that I follow that, but it is helpful. This is a hefty knife. If there was a zombie apocalypse, those chickens are wild and the wind is wild, everything's wild. Anyway, if there was a zombie apocalypse, this would be my weapon of choice, just kidding. But what I really like about this is it's just a regular blade. I mean, I use a knife very similar to this cooking, so it's comfortable in my hand. This brand is Haushoff. I don't know how to say that. Let's see if it'll focus. That's the brand. Pretty cool. I've neglected this. I've left this out in the garden for whole seasons, and the wood is still in great condition. It was made here in America, which is really awesome. The one side is serrated, and then the other side is just like a regular knife. It's not gonna be as sharp as like a kitchen knife or anything, but I'm sure you could get it that sharp. There also looks like there's a can opener. That's cool. You never know, you need to open it. But a really versatile tool. Both of these, really like this. I like this for when I've got, what are they? Not stinging nettle, thistle. I have thistle throughout the entire garden, and I'll just walk through, and instead of having to grab them with my hands, I'll just. Fun fact about this bed before we begin is I planted I direct sowed a bunch of seeds. I don't know which seeds I put in there, and I don't know where they're at. So if they're popping up now, awesome. I'll try to avoid you. If they haven't sprung up yet, well, may the odds be ever in your favor. Okay, like I stated before, I'm not very great when it comes to being really organized. So I just threw these in areas that I thought would be a good spot for them. I do have a plan where I have a climbing rose that will be arriving near the end of May that I do plan on putting in this bed. I do have, it's kind of like a trellis going up the side of this little awning area, and I'm going to plant that at the base. And then that'll be super lovely because there'll be roses climbing, there'll be herbs, there'll be a little bit of medicinal and herbal flowers planted in here along with the chamomile. It'll look really cool. Anyway, All right, I got all the herbs in. Super simple. All I did was make a hole with my hori knife and drop them in. One thing I did do this year is I kept all the plant tags with them so that I could remember, since they were. All right, I think I'm gonna call it good for the day. Thank you for joining me on my herb planting adventures, and don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Thank you.